It's strange when you think about it. The most advanced fighter jet in the world, a machine that can slip through radar, shoot down enemies before they even know it's there, and act as the nerve center for entire fleets, is also one of the most hated aircraft ever built. The F-35 Lightning II should have been a triumph of engineering and military might, a symbol of 21st century dominance. Instead, it's been called a disaster, a trillion-dollar mistake, a jet that should never have been built. Politicians mock it, analysts tear it apart, even some pilots question whether it was worth the effort. And yet, despite decades of controversy, delays, and public ridicule, more than 1,000 of them are already flying, and more are on the way. It's the centerpiece of America's and NATO's future air strategy. So how did we get here? How did the most ambitious fighter program in history become one of the most polarizing? To understand that, you need to rewind to the 1990s. The Cold War had ended, defense budgets were shrinking, and the U.S. military was facing a hard reality. Its fighters, F-16S, F-A-18S, AV-8B, Harriers were aging fast. Replacing each with a new specialized aircraft would cost hundreds of billions of dollars. The Pentagon needed something revolutionary, one jet that could do it all, one that could be adapted for the Air Force, Navy, and Marine Corps, while also being cheap enough to export to allies around the world. That idea became the Joint Strike Fighter program, the most ambitious combat aircraft project ever attempted. The plan was simple on paper. Build a single stealth aircraft with 3 versions. One would be a conventional fighter for the Air Force, one would land vertically for the Marines, and one would operate from aircraft carriers for the Navy. This shared design, the Pentagon believed, would slash costs, unify training and maintenance, and make future wars easier to fight alongside allies. Whoever won the contract would shape the next half-century of air combat. Lockheed Martin beat Boeing to the prize, and with that victory came an almost impossible list of promises. The jet would be stealthier than anything flying. It would maneuver like a dogfighter, land vertically like a Harrier, and serve dozens of missions with just a few modifications. It would be cheaper to build and easier to maintain. It was marketed as the ultimate multi-role platform, a Swiss Army knife of the skies. But as the saying goes, a machine that tries to do everything rarely does anything well. The engineering challenge was enormous. Designing 3 very different aircraft from one basic platform is like designing a car that's also a submarine and a rocket ship. Each branch's demands pulled the project in different directions. The Marines needed a vertical lift fan that added weight and complexity. The Navy wanted larger wings and stronger landing gear for carrier operations. The Air Force demanded long range and high maneuverability. And as those compromises piled up, so did the costs. The numbers were staggering. The program's original price tag of roughly $200 billion soon exploded past $400 billion. Technical issues became endless headlines. Engine problems, software bugs, weight overruns. Even the pilot's helmet, a critical piece of technology costing over $400,000, struggled with delays and misaligned displays. And then there were the delays. Year after year, the F-35's delivery schedule slipped. Its first operational units were years late. By the mid-2000s, the aircraft had become a political punching bag. Senator John McCain called the project a scandal and a tragedy. Donald Trump tweeted that it was out of control, and the public saw a fighter that cost more than any other in history, but still wasn't ready to fight. The worst blow came when a leaked report revealed that an early model F-35 had lost a mock dogfight against a decades-old F-16. Headlines exploded. How could a jet built with trillions of dollars in taxpayer money lose to one designed before many of its pilots were even born? Critics concluded the F-35 was a bloated, over-engineered disappointment. But that narrative, while satisfying to repeat, missed a crucial point. The F-35 was never designed to dogfight. Its designers didn't care if it could outturn an F-16 because dogfights are no longer how modern wars are fought. Air combat has changed. In the 21st century, it's not about who can pull the tightest G-turn. It's about who sees first, who fires first, and who remains invisible while doing it. And in that world, the F-35 is deadly. Its stealth is extraordinary. Its radar cross-section is roughly the size of a golf ball, which means many radars don't even detect it. Its sensor fusion is unlike anything else in service. It combines radar, infrared, and electronic signals into a single, crystal-clear picture for the pilot. The distributed aperture system gives a full 360-degree view, letting pilots see through the jet with their helmet display. It's not just a fighter, it's a flying command center. It feeds data to ships, drones, and ground forces, turning every other unit around it into a deadlier weapon. When used this way, the results are staggering. In red flag training exercises, F-35s have achieved kill ratios as high as 20-1 against older fighters. Israeli F-35s have flown deep into contested airspace and hit targets without ever being detected. The jet that critics mocked as too slow, too clumsy, and too expensive suddenly looked like a ghost with teeth. Still, the hate didn't go away, because the F-35's battles weren't just in the sky. They were in Congress, in foreign capitals, and in the boardrooms of rival defense companies. Politically, the program became too big to fail. With more than 1,800 suppliers spread across 45 states, canceling it would cost thousands of jobs and trigger economic shockwaves. Internationally, the F-35 became as much a diplomatic tool as a military one. Over 20 nations, from the UK to Japan to Finland, have bought or are buying F-35s. This isn't just about technology, it's about alliances. If everyone flies the same jet, they train the same way, share the same tactics, and operate as one force. That scares America's rivals more than the jet's weapons ever could. Russia called the F-35 destabilizing. China labeled it a Trojan horse. Both accelerated their own stealth programs, the Su-57, the J-20, but none have achieved the same scale, interoperability, or industrial reach. And while critics hammer on the cost and complexity, the aircraft itself keeps evolving. Early flaws are being ironed out. New software upgrades, known as blocks, keep adding capabilities. Weapon systems have improved. Maintenance costs, once a nightmare, have dropped by more than half since 2015. Even the helmet works perfectly now. The F-35 is not the same jet it was when it was first mocked on the news, and yet the hate lingers. Maybe it's because the program became a symbol of everything people dislike about modern defense projects. The spiraling costs, the political horse trading, the endless delays. Maybe it's because the jet dared to be too much, too ambitious, too complex, too far ahead of its time. But whether you love it or hate it, the world's militaries keep buying it because they know one thing: they can't afford not to. For all the criticism it's endured, the F-35 has quietly become the backbone of Western air power. And that's the most fascinating part of this whole story, because while critics mocked its cost and delays, militaries around the world were making a very different calculation. They weren't buying the F-35 for what it was in 2015. They were buying it for what it would become decades from now. And that long game is where the jet's true power and the reason behind its survival really comes into focus. Nations saw beyond the headlines and the political noise. They recognized that the F-35 wasn't just a fighter jet, it was an evolving platform, one that would continue to grow more capable with every software update, hardware upgrade, and doctrinal shift. Its ability to adapt, integrate new technologies, and remain relevant against future threats turned it into more than a weapon. It became a strategic insurance policy for the next half-century of warfare. More than 20 countries have now signed up for the F-35 program, and the list is still growing. Nations like Japan, Poland, Finland, and Switzerland, some of which once swore they'd never touch the aircraft, have all placed orders. Why? Because despite the noise, there's nothing else like it. It's not just the stealth or the sensors, it's the ecosystem. Buying an F-35 isn't just buying a jet, it's buying into a network. Every F-35 on Earth can share targeting data and operate seamlessly with every other F-35. That means if you're a small nation and a war breaks out, you're not flying alone. You're part of a global combat web, and that's a level of interoperability no Russian or Chinese aircraft can match. This global reach is also why rivals are so concerned. Russia's Su-57 exists in small numbers and suffers from production issues. China's J-20 is a serious platform, but it lacks the sensor fusion, network integration, and global scale that give the F-35 its edge. The truth is, the F-35 isn't competing as a single aircraft, it's competing as part of a military alliance. And in a future conflict, alliances will matter more than individual platforms. A single F-35 is powerful, but hundreds of them across multiple nations, all linked and sharing battle data, is something else entirely. And that's how the US always intended to use it. The F-35 isn't meant to fly alone and dogfight its way to victory. It's meant to be the eyes, ears, and brain of a larger force, detecting threats far beyond the horizon, jamming enemy radars, designating targets, and directing long-range missiles from ships hundreds of miles away. In that sense, it's less a fighter and more a flying command center a digital conductor in the orchestra of modern warfare. Critics who focus on its agility or range often miss that bigger picture. The F-35's evolution is also far from over. The upcoming Block 4 update will add new weapons, improve electronic warfare, and enhance its already advanced sensors. Developers are also working to link the jet directly to drones, letting it act as a quarterback for autonomous wingmen. There's even talk of hypersonic missile capability. All of this means the F-35 flying today won't be the same one flying in a decade. It's constantly evolving, and that's part of its strength. Yes, the program is still expensive, complex, and reliant on software that's always evolving. But modern warfare isn't about perfection, it's about dominance. And dominance is about shaping the battlefield before a shot is fired. In that sense, the F-35 is already doing what it was built to do. And that's the paradox. The F-35 tried to be too much, too versatile, too advanced, too future-proof. That ambition nearly killed it, but it's also what makes it indispensable now. Because if you look past the headlines, the pattern is clear. Nations are betting their future air power on this jet. They're betting that its network, sensors, and adaptability will give them the edge. So yes, it's hated by taxpayers, by critics, even by rivals. But it's also loved by pilots who call flying it cheating, by strategists who rely on its intelligence network, by allies who trust it as their shield. It's not perfect. It was never meant to be. It's a platform, a foundation. And in the decades ahead, when sixth-generation fighters and AI swarms dominate the skies, we'll look back on the F-35 not as a failure, but as the jet that made it all possible. And if you enjoyed diving into the story behind the world's most controversial fighter jet, make sure to subscribe to the channel, drop a like if you learned something new, and leave a comment telling us what you think. Is the F-35 an overpriced mistake or the smartest investment in modern air power?